In this video, I'm going to be introducing you to the main tool that we're going to be using throughout the course. It's called Google Colaboratory, right? One of the reasons why we're using Google Colaboratory is that it's so straightforward and easy to use. We don't need to set up any other tooling. All that you need in order to be able to use Colaboratory is Google Chrome and a Google account. Pull my window over here. Now, if you don't have a Google account, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to https://accounts.google.com/signup. You'll see that I'm already logged in, but if you don't have a Google account, this is probably the best place to get signed up. This link will also be in the text below the video if you weren't able to follow along with what I put up here. Again, it's https://accounts.google.com. And once you have a Google account, I bet most of you already do. If you have Gmail or Google Drive, you already have a Google account. We're going to be using Google Colaboratory through Google Drive. It's like any other kind of Google Doc with sharing permissions and other things like that. So I'm actually going to go to my Google Drive. All right, I'm here in my Google Drive, and the best way to get started with a fresh Colab notebook is you want to come over here to this new button with this plus sign, and then come over this more in the drop-down menu, and then select Colaboratory, and that's going to spin up a new Google Colab for you. Now, this Google Colab is the name of the website and the kind of the browser website we're using in order to write some of this Python code. But under the hood, what's really fueling this Google Colab is something that's called an IPython notebook. Now that's the technical term for the kind of file that's going on here. You can see that the file name here is appended.ipynb. That's how you know you're working with an IPython notebook. And if I were to download this file, I would download the .ipynb version. Now, you can name this file whatever you want. This is just going to be for practice. In a minute, I'm going to show you the actual lecture notebooks that we're going to work through. But for now, I just want to get you introduced to this tool and how it works. So I'm just going to call this Practice Colab. Now, sometimes we call Colaboratory Colab for short. So if you hear me say that, that's just what I'm referring to. So once you're in here, you'll see that this section here is a cell. It's specifically a cell that we're going to write some code in. So I'm going to write some very simple code in here. I'm just going to write 2 + 2, right? Maybe say to yourself, that doesn't look like Python code. That looks like math, which is good. We've talked about how Python's really good at scientific computing, and this is one of the reasons why. So if I come over here to this play button and hit play, it's going to evaluate that statement of 2 + 2, and it's going to print out the result or output the result just below the cell here. Now, if I want to add a new code cell, say I wanted to keep on writing code below there, I can just hit this plus code button here, and I'll get another code cell, and I can write some more Python. Maybe I want to say hello world, right? Now, I can run this by hitting this plus button, but there's also a keyboard shortcut. If I hold shift and hit enter, that will automatically run this cell, and if it's the last cell, it's gonna automatically put a new code cell below it, which is really nice, right? So I want you to really notice what this Colab is doing here. It's reading some Python code, it's evaluating it, and then it's printing it out, and then it's presenting me with another code cell and another code cell. One thing I also want you to notice is these numbers on the left-hand side. The first code cell has a number 1 next to it. The second code cell has a number 2 next to it. This refers to the order in which the cells were run. Now, if I come back up and I run this first cell again, you're going to see that now it has a 3 next to it, and the cell below has a 2, right? So anytime I run a cell, that number is going to increment. If I write something down here in this cell, 10 times 2, that's going to get a 4 now. And it's really important to keep track of these numbers because sometimes when we start doing more complex things with these code cells, it'll be really important that we're aware of the order in which the cells ran because the order can sometimes change what we're working on and what we're doing. All right, now that we've written a little bit of code here, I want to show you a couple of other things we can do. These cells can take any kind of Python syntax. Now, one thing that you might want to do frequently in Python is you always want to document your code, explain what it's doing, and you can put comments in your code by putting this pound sign, and then you can type text after it. So adds 2 plus 2. Very good documentation here, right? You can do this. You can do more lines, right? You can add as many of these as you want, and these lines will get skipped by the interpreter. It's like they're not even there, right? And so that's how you can add comments to your code. It's really good to document your code so that when other people come across your files or trying to reproduce some of your analysis, they can understand what you're doing. So that's one way of writing inline comments, but there's another way of documenting your code here that's really cool and fairly unique to this file format. If I come here and I hit this plus text button, it's going to give me a text cell. You notice I've got some text editing buttons here. This cell takes a specific kind of text markup called Markdown. Kind of a little joke there. The markup language is called Markdown, right? And you can see lots of different Markdown styles. The biggest things to know about Markdown is that for different headers, a single pound sign gives you a big header. 2 pound sign gives you a smaller header. 3 pound signs is even smaller. And again, if I want this output to show up, I can just wait, or I can hit Shift Enter, right? And here's some of the text that I've added. If I just want to add like paragraph text, I can just type that text like normal. I should probably put something a little bit more interesting. This is paragraph text, right? And you'll see that just shows up. It's not bolded. It's just regular text. Now, you can do a few different things as well. Like say I wanted to link to lambdaschool.com. Right? I can enclose it in caret marks, and that'll automatically turn it into a link. Another thing I can do is just type text, select it, and then hit this link button. And that's going to add in a little bit of syntax here. What I then want to do is finish this off with lambdaschool.com. You'll notice that as this renders, instead of rendering everything here in the parentheses, it's just going to insert a hyperlink there over my text. One thing I'll also show you here is that we can add a bulleted list by just doing dashes. Right, and those show up as bullets. You can even have multiple layers of bullets if you indent or space a little bit. Right, and you'll get a little bit of indentation on your bullet. For now, I think these are the most important markdown styles you're going to need. It's really good to document your code. We'll give you brownie points and bonus points if your notebooks end up looking really nice. And this is also because some of the lecture notebooks, we're going to share the notebooks that I go through with you. They're going to be linked to just underneath the video in future videos. And so I want you just to be aware of what these text sections are doing. But for now, because I'm just going to throw away this current collab that we're working with, I'm just going to go ahead and delete that text section. All right. Because I want to just focus on the code for right now. And remember how I talked about how the Python code that's being typed in here, it's being read, it's being evaluated, it's being printed or outputted, right? And then it's showing us a new code cell, right? So we can run these cells in order. Well, what's really happening under the hood is that this Google Colab, this IPython notebook, is really just kind of a fancy browser version of a much simpler Python interface that I want to show you quickly. By the way, whenever I am typing things in a Colab like this, I strongly encourage you to follow along with me. Open up your own notebook, type things out. I mean, this is a video. You can pause it, you can speed it up, you can repeat sections, you do whatever you need to do. But the more active and engaged you can be, and the more you have your hands on the keyboard, the more information you're going to be able to absorb, and just the better experience you're going to have, right? So I strongly encourage that. However, for what I'm about to show you, you may not have the tools installed to do what I'm about to show you. So if this command I'm about to run doesn't work for you, don't worry about it. So I'm gonna open up my terminal, right? And I'm just gonna type the word Python in here. Now, if you have Python installed on your machine, this should probably do something for you. But like I said, we don't want to have you have to install a whole bunch of tools. That's why we're using Google Colab. So if you type Python in here in your terminal and it doesn't do anything for you, don't worry about it. But if I do it because I have Python installed on my machine, it's going to open up what's called the Python interactive shell. All right. Now this is one of the ways when people are learning Python that they first write their very first lines of Python and interact with the Python interpreter for the very first time. But what I want to show you is that this Python interactive shell is also what's called a read, evaluate, print loop, right? REPL, sometimes abbreviated as REPL, right? So I can write Python code in here just like I did before, 2 plus 2, hit enter, it gets evaluated, right? So what did Python just do? It read 2 plus 2, it evaluated, it printed it out, and then it looped me back to the beginning. It's prompting me again for more input with these 3 arrows. So I can also say print hello world. And now I've got hello world, right? So this is a REPL. This is the Python interactive shell, Python interpreter that we're interacting with pretty directly. And I just want you to see that all that this Google Colab is kind of a slightly more organized, a little bit more bells and whistles REPL, right? All it's doing is reading the code that we give it, evaluating it, printing it out, and then prompting us again for even more code, right? So that's just a quick overview of the tool we're going to be using. I hope that you're excited that it's just this easy to start writing Python code. One thing that's really nice about Google Colab as well is that it is a Google Doc. And as a Google Doc, it has nice sharing and collaborative capabilities, which is why this is called Google Colab. But you can share it just like you would any other Google Doc, right? So when you submit your assignments and for the exercises here, you're going to come to this share button. Let me show you. Just click here on the top right again and get a shareable link. And you're going to make sure that this says anyone with the link can view. And then you're just going to copy that link. And it's that link you're going to share with us when you submit your work on the exercises so that we can make sure that you're following along, you're keeping up with things. And that's what we're going to ultimately grade you on is these Google Colab submissions. They're going to be a big part of your application if you're actually interested in joining the full Lambda School course. If not, you can just save them for yourself. But you will be required to submit some kind of link or text in the assignment submissions, or else you won't be allowed to move on to the next assignment. So I encourage you to do the exercises, do the assignments, even if you're not interested in applying to Lambda School. It'll benefit you. You'll learn more. You'll absorb more of the information.